The 6th of August 2018, the Russian Federation is holding 70 Ukrainian political prisoners in custody. Many of them have been convicted under torture and using false evidence. President of Argentina Mauricio, Prime Minister of Australia Malcolm Turnbull, King of the Belgians Philippe, Prime Minister of Belgium Charles Michel, President of the Federative Republic of Brazil Michel, TemerPresident of the Republic of Colombia Juan, Manuel, SantosPresident of Costa Rica Carlos, Alvarado, QuesadaPresident of the Republic of Croatia Kolinda Grabar Kitarovic, Premier Minister Andrej Plenković, Queen of Denmark Margaret II, Prime Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Prime Minister Sharif Ismail, President of the French Republic Emmanuel Macron, Prime Minister Edouard Philippe, Federal Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany Angela Merkel, President of Iceland Guthni Thorlacius Johannesson, Prime Minister Katrin Jakobsdottir, President of Iran Hassan Rouhani, Prime Minister of Japan Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister of the Republic of Korea Lee Nak-yeon, President of the United Mexican States Enrique Peña Nieto, President of the Government of the Kingdom of Morocco Saadetdine Othmani, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Republic of Panama Juan Carlos Varela, President of the Republic of Peru Martin Vizcarra, President of the Republic of Poland Andrzej Duda, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki, President of the Portuguese Republic Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, Prime Minister Antonio Costa, King of Saudi Arabia, custodian of the two holy mosques Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, President of the Republic of Senegal Macky Sall, Prime Minister Mohamed Diana, President of the Republic of Serbia Alexander Vučić, Prime Minister Ana Brnabić, King of Spain King Felipe V, Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy, King of Sweden Carl XVI Gustaf, Prime Minister Stefan Löfven, President of the Confederation of Switzerland Alain Berset, President of the Republic of Tunisia Beji Keita Sebsi, Head of Government Youssef Chahed, Queen of the United Kingdom Elizabeth II, Prime Minister Theresa May, President of the Oriental Republic of Uruguay Tabari Vasquez, Your Majesties, esteemed representatives of the citizens of your states, the main football event of the year, the World Cup, is drawing closer. It will take place in Russia despite this country occupying the Ukrainian peninsula of Crimea, unleashing a war in eastern Ukraine, supporting the brutal dictator Assad and war crimes in Syria, curtailing the democratic rights of its own citizens, repressing the indigenous population of occupied Crimea, the Crimean Tatars, interfering in the elections of Western countries and unleashing a disinformation campaign against them. Your Excellencies, the list of Russia's crimes can be continued, however, one stands out. On the 14th of May, the jailed Ukrainian filmmaker Oleg Sentsov, who had resisted the occupation of his native Crimea in 2014, announced a termless hunger strike. The only condition for ending it is the release of all Ukrainian political prisoners held on the territory of the Russian Federation. There are at least 70 such prisoners, and the number increases each day. Oleg was sentenced to 20 years in a penal colony as a result of a falsified trial. Other political prisoners have been convicted in a similar manner, on the basis of false confessions, obtained under torture, fake witnesses, planted ammunition. The latter was the reason for the arrest and conviction of Volodymyr Balak, a Crimean farmer who rejected the occupation of Crimea and kept raising a Ukrainian flag over his house. Balak is holding a termless hunger strike for over 70 days since the 19th of March, balancing between life and death. Also on hunger strike, in solidarity with Sentsov, are Alexander Kolchenko and Alexander Shumkov. The number of arrests and sentences grows with each day. Just on the 4th of June, Ukrainian journalist Roman Sashenko was sentenced to 12 years of severe regime imprisonment in Russia on baseless mystery, spying charges. All these tragedies go unnoticed by the world. Russia has established a real repression machine in occupied Crimea. Civic activists among Crimean Tatars are being arrested in droves and accused of terrorism. Also accused of terrorism is the 19-year-old Ukrainian Pavlo Ryb, whom the FSB kidnapped while he was on a trip to Belarus. The list of political prisoners is long and each name in it represents a shattered fate and children left to grow up without parents. See more information here. Your Excellencies, all of these Ukrainians became victims of Russia's undeclared war against Ukraine. In authoritarian Russia, their purpose is to be broadcast on state TV playing the role of enemies, terrorists, and extremists, inciting the hatred of Russians towards Ukrainians and Crimean Tatars, and ramping up support for Vladimir Putin's aggressive politics. Oleg Sentsov has declared that he intends to hold the hunger strike until the fatal end. This is a realistic scenario. One has to only recall his letter from prison, where he wrote about Ukrainian political prisoners. If we are destined to become nails in the lid of the tyrant's coffin, then I would like to be such a nail. Just know that this nail will not bend, and he told his lawyer, if I die before the World Cup or during it, then there will be public resonance in favor of the other political prisoners. A hunger strike is the only weapon that the imprisoned filmmaker has to counter the horrendous injustice against 70 Ukrainian citizens. Your Majesties, you, the powerful of this world, have another weapon. One of the dreams of Vladimir Putin is to use the presence of foreign dignitaries at the tribunes of the World Cup to embellish his image of a strong leader, and as visual support for his politics of repressions and wars. You can take the side of the filmmaker who was sentenced for protesting the occupation of his native Crimea by joining the political boycott of the World Cup, inviting others to follow your lead if you have already done this, and calling upon Russia to fulfill the demands of Oleg Sentsov and release all Ukrainian political prisoners. History shows that leaders of authoritarian states prefer to put on a mask of mercy before sports events. The full list of signatories is here. Willem Aldershoof, former head of unit, European Commission, Analyst International Affairs, Brussels, Belgium. Ali Maliev, Program Director, Crimean House, Ukraine. Victoria Amlina, Writer, Ukraine. Yuri Andrikovich, Writer, Ukraine. Ivan Andrusiak, Writer, Ukraine. Anne Applebaum, Journalist, Historian. Yus Antoine Arjakovsky, Historian. France. Elaris Ardiugina, Film Director, Project Leader. NGO New Donbas, Ukraine. Katerina Babich, No Borders Project, Committee of Solidarity with Crimean Hostages, Kiev, Ukraine. Maria Louise Beck, former State Secretary, Alliance, The Greens, Germany, Arc Belarus. Translator, Ukraine. Andrei Bandar, Writer, Ukraine. Katerina Botnova, Journalist, Curator, Switzerland, Ukraine. Stephen Blank, Senior Fellow, American Foreign Policy Council, Usam Butkovich, Human Rights Defender, No Borders Project, Committee of Solidarity, Ukraine. Artem Shapai, Writer, Ukraine. Zima Selyutka, Head of European Security Program, Vilnius Institute for Policy Analysis, Lithuania. Yevgen Chernikov, Actor, Ukraine. Halina Koinash, Kharkiv Human Rights Protection Group, Ukraine. A Mustafa Zhemalov, Crimean Tatar Leader, Political Prisoner during the USSR. Danilo Ilia, Journalist, RAI, Radio Television Italiana, National Public Broadcasting of Italy. Michael L. Chaninoff, Philosopher, Franci Andrufeshik, International Director, Final Cut Media, Ukraine. Leonid Finberg, Sociologist, Cultural Researcher, Director of Center for Studies of History and Culture of Eastern European Jewry, Ukraine. Grigory Frolov, Director of Free Russia House, Kiev, Ukraine. Svetlana Ganushkina, Human Rights Defender, Russian. Ina Gernetska, Musician, Daka Braka Band, Ukraine. George Janou, Theater, Film Director, Germany, Ukraine. Anastasia Gernega, Chairperson, NGO Touchpoint, Ukraine. Irina Gorban, Art Manager, Ukraine. Marko Halinevich, Musician, Daka Braka Band, Ukraine. Rebecca Harms, MIP, Alliance, The Greens, Marketa Hajbalova, Writer, Czech Republic. Ola Nadiak, University of Warsaw, Pen Club Member, Poland. Yaroslav Ritsek, Historian, Ukraine. Jakub Janda, Director, European Values Think Tank, Prague, Czech Republic. Andrei Kadanovich, Literature, Belarus. Boris Kersinsky, Writer, Ukraine. Alexandra Koval, Head of the Publishers Forum NGO, Ukraine. Maxim Karachkin, Playwright and Screenwriter, Ukraine. Yaskold Kuriv, Filmmaker and Producer, Russia. Myroslav Laik, Writer, Ukraine. Philippi Delara, Professor of Political Science, France. Anastasia Levkova, Writer, Journalist, Ukraine. Danilo Lubkivsky, Deputy Foreign Minister of Ukraine, 2014, Diplomatic Advisor to the Prime Minister of Ukraine, 2015-2016, Edward Lucas, London, Ukalasia Mamchich, Writer, Ukraine. Myroslav Marinovich, former Soviet political prisoner, Ukraine. George Mesic, Global Risks Analyst, Slovakia. Diana Matsuzaki, Journalist, Hungary. Marina Mesigwer, Journalist, Spain. Patrick Michalski, journalist. Polan Vitaly Moros, Internews Ukraine, Ukraine Mustafa Naum, Member of Parliament of Ukraine Alexandra Nazarova, psychologist. Ukraine Andrei Nikishyak, Euromaidan Press, Ukraine Titiana Okapna, translator. Ukraine Oleksiy Panich, philosopher. Ukraine Titiana Peshenchik, Human Rights Information Center. Ukraine Katerina Petrovska, writer. Ukraine, Germany Natalia Popovich, co-founder. Ukraine Crisis Media Center Anshela Prosnichnik, medical doctor. Belgium and J. Rempa, Germany, president of the Association for Partnership between the Twin Cities of Kharkiv and Nuremberg. Mykola Ryabchik, writer. Ukraine Alexandra Romantsova, Center for Civil Liberties. Ukraine Alexander Sherba, Ukrainian ambassador to Austrian Slyapikov, musician. Daka Braka Band, Ukraine Arkady Shtipel, poet, translator. Russia Roman Shudev, EAP strategic advisor. Baltic Center for Media Excellence, Ukraine Alexandra, Euromaidan Press, Ukraine Konstantin Sigov, director of the European Humanities Research Center, National University of Kiev Mohyla Academy, Ukraine Ostap Slivinsky, writer. Ukraine Bodana Smirnova, filmmaker, New York, Kiev Timothy Snyder, professor of history at Yale University, Alice Dahlmeyer, executive director, Defending Democracy, Belgium Maxim Stryka, professor of physics, writer. Ukraine Sergei Sidorenko, European Pravda, Ukraine Joanna Shostek, researcher, Royal Holloway University of London, Great Britain Lumila Taran, writer. Ukraine Tetiana Taran, journalist. Ukraine Halina Kuchuk, writer. Ukraine Elena Sibolska, musician. Daka Braka Band, Ukraine Halina Titish, journalist. Ukraine Andrea Zemland, senior fellow, Institute for Euro-Atlantic Cooperation. Ukraine Alexander Vilchinsky, writer. Ukraine Pavlo Volvok, writer. Ukraine Natalia Vorzbit, playwright and screenwriter. Ukraine Marina Vroda, director and writer. Ukraine Uira Woke, writer, translator, Pen Club member. Brazil Volodymyr Yermolenko, Ukraine World, Internews Ukraine, Hromadski.ua, Ukraine Pavlo Urov, independent director and actor. Ukraine Irina Zabiaka, translator, Kiev, Ukraine Riza Semodimova, writers in prison committee of the Czech Penn Center, Czech Republic Oksana Zabushko, writer. Ukraine Yevgeny Zakharov, Kharkiv Human Rights Protection Group, Ukraine Ila Zamonska, TV director, Ukraine Zerhizadin, writer. Ukraine Bodin Zoldik, writer. Ukraine. If you would like to sign the letter, please fill out this form, https://www.opendemocracy.net/odd-russia/open-letter-and-support-of-Ukrainian-political-prisoners.